This is the Dynasty Roundtable podcast, and tonight we have the pleasure of one of the best voices I think in the community.
Oh,
Definitely one of the most enthusiastic voices that will that's going to sell us on some prospects tonight. We're just going to have a conversation. Prospects we like, prospects we don't like, some sleepers. It's going to be an all-encompassing episode tonight, and this is one of my most favorite episodes that we do every year because John Laub is nice enough to come on here sometimes twice a year. I think you came on last year twice. So this year we have you. And John, how you doing tonight? And of course we have Matt Babish too. But John, how you doing? What's going on? And talk to me. Like, how are things going?
things are going great, and you reached me at a really nice time of the year. I've studied over 90 prospects now. I have all my rankings are done. All my written profiles are done. So, by this time, it's finally relaxed. Now I get prepared for the draft, wait to see where players land. But I feel like I know the class extraordinarily well right now. And it's a great time to talk. Even though I started the journey in January and I've been on a bunch of shows and done all that stuff, not until you get to the end in my book, like when you get the final 90 players on tape, you watch some games, at least two of each player, and you put them in your model. That's when I feel really good about the class. And that's how you have me now, where I feel real good about the class.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it, shall we? So who is we're going to start with players we like, and we're kind of jump around. And so John, who's a guy that is at the top of your list of players at cost, at value, right now that you see? Like, you look around the dynasty rankings, you're hearing everything people are saying, the buzz, or where it is, where it isn't, maybe where it should be. But talk to me about a player that you really like as you've gone through the process.
I'm going to give you two running backs to open up the conversation. And one of them is not talked enough about. And another one is kind of have very different opinions on him. So to me, I'm going to start with the one that's not talked about enough. It's Kaytron Allen of Penn State. And I think he's kind of getting lost in the sauce. And I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, maybe it's because he didn't go to the combine. We don't have a lot of athletic traits on him. And if you talk to most film grinders or most people who've watched Penn State, they kind of think he's not overly athletic. But at the running back position, while athleticism is clearly important, it isn't the end all and be all, and my biggest mistake that I didn't stay with my analysis was Kyren Williams when he was coming out of Notre Dame. I absolutely loved Kyren Williams. I remember an early mock draft that year. I took him at like the 6th pick overall, but then he went to the combine and his athleticism wasn't there. He dropped, I think, to the 3rd or 4th round of rookie drafts, and I think I got one share. I was just like, might as well take him. It's round 4, right? And I'm really upset. But you know what? When you make an omission, it's a learning opportunity. So I said to myself, what made Kyren Williams so good? And I thought about certain things, and the landing spot mattered. I mean, I'm no crazy fool. Like, I get that he landed with McVay, with the Rams. It was an ideal landing spot. We might not have known it at the time, but it became the ideal landing spot. So when I think about Kaytron Allen, I say to myself, I think a coach is going to like his football acumen more than anything else. Also, he's not getting enough credit for his size. I try not to be a sizeist, and I get there's Devon Achans out there, and we're going a little bit smaller at the NFL level. I understand that. But I'm sorry. There is still a role in the NFL for big bruising backs between the tackles. Kaytron Allen is 5'11", 218, and he's got a BMI of 30.1. He leaves Penn State as the all-time rushing leader. Now, I'm an old man, and I've been watching Penn State back since the mid-'80s, guys. When you are the all-time leader at Penn State, you have really done something, right? We're talking about guys like Lydell Mitchell, for all those old guys, Franco Harris, right? But your generation, the Saquon Barkley, the Miles Sanders. And then you go through the 90s, the litany, Kajana Carter. I mean, unfortunately, he blew out his knee with Cincinnati before they could really fix up the knee. I always wondered, like, if Kajana Carter had the same injury now, he probably would have had an NFL career, but the way it happened with the Bengals in the early 90s, he didn't make it. So when you're in this type of company at a program, you're a very good back. And I know he's not exceptional at anything per se, other than I do think he's very good vision between the tackles. That I think if he has a Superman power, it's his vision between the tackles. I get it on the outside. He's not necessarily a home run hitter, but I think he's a decent receiver. He's a good pass blocker. He can do everything that a coach wants. He's had 2,000-yard seasons back to back. And what makes this more amazing, he was sharing the backfield with Nicholas Singleton. So when you put all this together, I think there's an NFL coach and an NFL organization who's going to really value this type of runner. I know it might seem a little silly. I think he would be great with Washington, but I think they're going to go early running back. But I think he might be the perfect bruiser for a Jaden Daniels on RPOs. When you have an uber mobile quarterback on the outside, what do I want? I want a pounding running back in the middle. So when the quarterback reads the option, if the defensive end or the linebacker, if they go to the outside, you give it to your big, powerful running back with good vision. Now, that's a best case scenario. Will the Commanders, will they draft a running back in the first round? If Jeremiah Love's off the board, you wonder where the Commanders go for their backfield help. Do they really like Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt enough to go back into the league? Right? Is he going to be your lead guy? I think they need a physical runner. And then when you look at Allen, he had a 29% scrimmage yards dominator in a split backfield. He has everything that coaches like. If you put him on the field, he's not going to hurt your offense, right? If you want 3 yards, he's going to get you the 3 yards. He's not going to dance in the backfield. He's not going to most likely put you in 2nd and 12. You're going to be 2nd and 7. Coaches love that. He's got the physical power to do it. So I'm going to have right now a current ADP, and maybe you know that, Seth. Well, I think he's in a 3rd round, right? Maybe even like I'm going to have a ton of Kaytron Allen because he's my 3rd ranked running back. What do you two gentlemen think about Kaytron Allen?
I think that maybe the most impressive thing, because a running back that I was going to ask you about maybe a little bit later, but we could bring him up now. You already did. Nicholas Singleton is a profile that I always find myself chasing. A big running back who has caught passes in college before.
Yes.
And he can fly.
Oh, yeah, no question. Home run hitter.
Yeah, and so Kaytron Allen, like you said, is not that. But you look at the stats, and it's like, okay, back-to-back seasons of over 1,100 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns this past year.
In the Big Ten.
Yeah, and then you go to some of the more advanced stuff. PFF has him ranked right behind this guy named Jeremiah Love in the running grade.
Yeah.
Missed tackles forced, he's in the top 5. And yards after contact per attempt's pretty good too. He's in the 3s there. So you start to look at the whole picture, and like it might not be flashy, but you might be like, I think you're onto something here, because I'm looking at the Fantasy Pros. He's right in the middle of the 2nd round. The Fantasy Pros consensus rookie rankings has him at 18, but
okay.
So middle of the 2nd round, like right behind Nicholas Singleton, a couple spots below. Like it might be the better bet to make, the safer bet, the Kaytron Allen, the guy who was better statistically. And that's honestly not reflected in my rankings, because I'm chasing the upside with Nicholas Singleton. I have Nicholas Singleton as my RB2 in this class. And I have Kaytron Allen as my RB4. So I'm basically right at consensus in my rankings. I'm right around that number 18 mark, but he's definitely somebody I'm willing to take a shot on in the middle of the second round because there's a lot to like. It's just my only questions are, can he catch enough passes to really have that upside for us in fantasy? Like it could be a situation where he's a better football player than fantasy player. But if 15 touchdowns is 15 touchdowns, so I don't care how many passes you catch. If you can go for double-digit touchdowns in the NFL, and like you said, I think he is a really good runner in between the tackles.
I think he's one of the best in this class between the tackles. I really do. And I mean, to me, he's so much better than Isaiah Pacheco. And look how people went crazy with Isaiah Pacheco. And then, why can't I remember the Bears running back, the rookie last year? Why don't I?
Kyle Monangai.
Kyle Monangai. He's so much better than Kyle Monangai, right? He might not be as good as David Montgomery, but he's on the spectrum with David Montgomery in the right system. And I think Kaytron Allen, at worst, he's a committee running back with the goal line equity, right? That's what, if he doesn't catch passes, and that is, but I think he could have 20, 25. I think he's a dump off guy, right? Then if we don't get that, I think he can get you the goal line equity, and I'll take 10 touchdowns from a running back any day on my flex, my flex position.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're banking on. Babbage, what are your thoughts here on Kaytron?
Yeah, so I have a few different points I kind of want to touch on. I heard the words, home run hitter, and we talked about speed. I am beginning to there's not a lot of data. I haven't run an analysis to support this, but it doesn't matter if you're fast if you don't have the vision and the football acumen and being in the right system to begin with. John, you mentioned how good of a fit he would be in Washington. Like, that would be very perfect for him.
That would be very nice, man.
A very cookie cutter offense that doesn't have a good passing game or a mobile quarterback. That could be tougher for Kaytron Allen. Like, that's where you want somebody who can, maybe bounce it to the outside and create some big plays. But what I want to talk about is, we talk about home run hitters, right? 40 plus yard runs don't happen that often.
No.
Let alone touchdowns. So if you go and look up, all these running backs that have 40 plus yard runs, you're going to get down the list, 10 or 12 names before you start seeing 2, 1 next to these guys' names. Now, if you go to 20 plus yard runs, more achievable, we wouldn't call that a home run, but a sizable game.
Yeah.
Some of the running backs that are, Ramondre Stevenson is tied for 9th with the most 20 plus yard runs last year. Not a very fast guy.
No.
Chase Brown right behind him, 10th at 6. Not someone we'd call a home run hitter necessarily.
That's another good lesson. Chase Brown also had a bad seat, right? He wasn't very good at the combine, and I loved him coming out of Illinois.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he had some fumble issues, which at the Senior Bowl, which didn't help his case. And then Kyron Williams tied for 10th with 6. Again, not very fast. David Montgomery, back in his day when he was getting more of these touches, would have been high on this list. So if you're getting the touches, a guy like Kaytron Allen has enough speed to break off 20 plus yard runs. And in an offense, if he's going to an offense that is pass heavy and he has that goal line role, he has that deployment in the backfield, he's going to find his way to close to 30 receptions. And when you take a look at the fantasy point breakdown, okay, I have a guy who can be getting 10 plus touchdowns on a season, goal line back. If he gets to a high volume offense that's going to score a lot, even better. And he's going to get me 2 plus fantasy points per game just on, his receptions in the passing game. That adds up. If you're talking about a guy who is going to be a 10 fantasy point per game player off his rushing volume, and we can get him to 12.1, that's 2 catches for 10 yards a game, that makes a massive difference in how he's helping your fantasy team. So I don't think, for a guy like Kaytron Allen, you would like him to be a natural pass catcher, but we've seen guys we wouldn't classify as natural pass catchers, i.e. Isaiah Pacheco, get similar volume in the receiving game because of where they are in. And I think a lot of these offensive coordinators would rather have a running back they trust and figure out how to work him into the receiving game as long as he's usable.
Matt, I'm going to give you a stat that I love about Kaytron Allen. According to PFF, runs of 10-plus yards. This is crazy. Kaytron Allen had 30 last year, and he's not a home run hitter. Guess how many Nicholas Singleton had?
12.
12.
Yeah, I know.
12.
I got it right on the dot?
Yes,
Yeah.
literally 12.
That's awesome.
I get it. And I like Singleton too. I'm not saying, but
Yeah.
I'll take the discount on Kaytron Allen because I think his floor is higher than Nicholas Singleton. I think he has such a nice, we all play him, right? I would assume you're like me. 11 starters every week. I got 3 flex guys, right? I think Kaytron Allen's the type of player you put him in your flex his sophomore year, second year in the NFL, and he just gets you every week 10 to 15 points, and you're very happy with Kaytron Allen. I mean, that's just how, there's nothing, we've all been desperate for that flex guy, right? You're like, please, give me the double-digit points in my flex position. I think that's what he turns out to be.
Yeah, and just you went right where I was going to go, John, because according to PFF, I'm looking at breakaway runs of 15 yards or more.
Yeah.
Guess who ranks in the top 5? That would be Kaytron Allen. And I don't see Nicholas Singleton. I mean, I got to scroll down a long way to get to Nicholas Singleton.
Now, in fairness to Singleton, if you go back to his junior year, there is more of that on tape. But he was, he was bad last year. There's no other way to describe it. He was just outright bad. And I also think it's important what coaches will like. Context matters. If you studied what happened to Penn State and they were a disaster the first half, they fire Franklin, all of that. Kaytron Allen succeeded despite all the chaos around him. And they turned the offense over to him. Drew Allar gets hurt. They have like a young mobile quarterback who can't throw the ball anymore. Like they have no receivers. And guess what? Kaytron Allen was literally leading that team to victory the second half of the season. And coaches are going to like that.
All right. I'm giving me a lot of food for thought because, I might have to, because looking at all this information and stuff and looking at Nicholas Singleton's, I mean, just to give our audience just a little picture of how bad Nicholas Singleton was.
So bad,
number 56 in PFF's rushing grade, minimum 50 attempts, number 87 in yards after contact per attempt, number 6, and this is amongst all draft eligible running backs this year. So it's that makes it even worse if you ask me. Number 61 in missed tackles force, number 89 in 86 in breakaway runs, and number 77 in PFF's elusiveness rating. And like you look at Kaytron Allen, just better in just about every metric, and the stats as well are on his side. So
Nicholas Singleton, I hope he got a different agent because whoever told him to not go into the draft last year, I do not want him or her helping me make decisions because that was a bad move.
It turned out to be unbelievable bad move. He probably would have been a second-round pick last year, Nicholas Singleton, if he had come out. He might be a 4th-round pick now, maybe 5th. I mean, if there's teams who don't like the film from this year, he might drop to the 5th.
Or the broken foot. He's got to come off of that, too.
Yeah, you're right. That might drop him to the 5th.
Which he'll be ready for minicamp and everything. It's much different than a muscular tear, but still, I mean, we've seen that type of stuff torpedo, prospects draft capital before.
Oh, absolutely.
These scouts and organizations are very, very into the scouting process and seeing pro days, seeing combine, and that stuff has weight.
Yes.
All right, John. Oh, go ahead.
I have Kaytron Allen at number 3. So I was going to try to transition quickly into my number 2, who I want to talk about, Emmett Johnson. And I have to admit, I've been all over the map with Emmett Johnson. In December, he was my number 2. Then he kind of fell to number 3. Then he had the poor combine. And I said, you know what? He fell to number 4. I had to watch the film again. And I'm convinced now he's a better football player than he is an athlete. He's a better runner than he is an athlete. You talk about Singleton as a pass catcher. Emmett Johnson has that. He's a very good pass catcher. He's over 200 pounds, and it's not the end all and be all, but I'm happy his BMI is 25. Obviously, I'm okay with 29, not 25. His BMI is 29. I'm very comfortable with that. Also, Nebraska wasn't very good, right? Like, he literally was the offense, right? Anyone who watched Nebraska, you got Dylan Raiola, just didn't work out. He was a highly rated recruit. He's transferred out. He's actually going to, right? Isn't Raiola at Oregon? He's going to sit a year, on the bench. He wants to grow and learn, right? Emmett Johnson was literally the only guy on that Nebraska offense. He had a 38% scrimmage yards dominator. No one could stop him. Career receptions, 92. Most of those came last year. PFF runs of 10 plus yards. He had 36. PFF grade, 85.6. I get the athleticism isn't great. I understand that. But watch the tape and tell me how often you see him tackled one-on-one. When he's got one defender in the open field, Emmett Johnson is really, really good at making that man whiff and gaining the extra yards. He's a really good NFL running back. Now, I do think Kaytron Allen is better between the tackles than Emmett Johnson, but Emmett Johnson has NFL abilities between the tackles, so I'm fine with this vision between the tackles, but he's much better outside and in the passing game than Kaytron Allen. I think he might go late second round, if not somewhere in the third round. I'm convinced, ignore the athleticism. I think he has NFL athleticism. It's just not special. Johnson's not special, but I've seen too many backs without special athleticism who know how to play the position. And Emmett Johnson is a 3-down back at the NFL level. And there's going to be coaches and offenses who like to keep that player on the field, right? We have a nice offensive drive going. I don't want to tee the defense off by bringing in different backs depending on passing or running situation. I can leave Emmett Johnson on the field for 10 straight plays and get into the end zone. He's my number 2 right now. I really like Emmett Johnson.
Babbage.
Yeah,
this is a victory lap for you because this is a player that
really
Babbage and I have been
you like him good.
Yeah, I've been talking about Emmett Johnson since we started talking about prospects. He just sticks out for me, and the conversation Seth and I had in our latest rankings episode, I think you mentioned he's a better runner than he is an athlete. He had a bad combine. I have to say this every year for the viewers. The combine has so many flaws, and the biggest one is the 40-yard dash. Because I talk about if you so much as start late on your get up, or you come up too fast, or you veer off your path and you don't go in an exact straight line, that shaves, hundredths to tenths of seconds or adds those onto your 40 time. And especially for a running back, he has a 4.56. If he ran a 4.52 or a 4.5 flat, that drastically changes the percentile. And we have such a vanity as a community of fantasy football players around some of these metrics where I want the game to get to a point where we start tracking game speed. I don't care what Emmett Johnson runs in the 40-yard dash on a random Thursday night in Indianapolis where he's done media and he's doing other workouts, he's doing interviews. It's the last thing he's worried about, trying to plan for is pretend to be a sprinter for 5 minutes. And so I think that's where the conversation around Emmett Johnson started getting shaky was, he's not that fast. And, maybe he's a bit undersized in terms of his BMI. Like, I think that's where we got to go back to the tape and just trust, like, what are his skills? And we got to stop being so harsh with, he didn't run that fast at the combine. So At the tight end position, we know that athleticism correlates so heavily with production. So maybe, we can continue to be sticklers about that there. Wide receiver, we know there are certain things, mainly, burst score is pretty correlative, but even overall, like it's not that big of a deal to be athletic. And it's the same thing as a running back. We are transitioning into an era of skill instead of brute speed or brute athleticism. The days of DeAndre Hopkins out athleting everybody. I mean, those are rare breeds.
Yes, he's a special player.
Like people who are the guys who are slow but are just so well positioned. I mean, it's a different game now. Like Nico Collins came into the league big, tall, and fast, but it took him a while to refine the skills that were needed to beat cornerbacks. And it's just the way the game works. And so with Emmett Johnson, I'm not worried about, again, does he have that home run speed? No, he's got good vision as a runner, and he's a very talented pass catcher, and he's going to most likely get draft capital from a team that says, hey, we want to give this kid a shot. I love the call of late second, early third. There's a team at 59 and 69 at the end of the second and the beginning of the third. The Houston Texans. I'd be very interested to get a guy like that next to David Montgomery to be a 1-2 punch in Houston with CJ Stroud as they try and fix that offense.
Call me crazy. If I'm the Seahawks, I want a Super Bowl because of my defense. They've lost some people in the secondary. And I have a defensive head coach. And I've got some older defensive linemen on that roster, right? Real good veterans who helped them win the Super Bowl. With the 32nd pick, I'm picking a defensive guy. I'd rather have Emmett Johnson in round 2 than have Jadarian Price in round 1. I think you build on defense. You have a defensive coach. Why would you take such a risk with the running back? And Seattle's been pretty good at picking running backs in the second round. And you're telling me that there is a clear schism between Jadarian Price and Emmett Johnson? I don't see it. I really don't. I think I actually have Emmett Johnson higher than Jadarian Price, but you can't tell me Jadarian Price is a first round in any model or anything you've seen on the field. You can't tell me he's a first round pick. I'm sorry. I'd rather take Emmett Johnson in round 2.
Yeah, and I think the team you mentioned earlier could also, I mean, if you're going to, Jeremiah Love's a special player, and maybe the conversation ends there at pick number 7, and that's why they take him there, because a lot of people think that's a potential destination if Jeremiah Love doesn't go to Tennessee or higher.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Like if I'm Washington and one of those wide receivers is there, like, I don't know if Cardinal Tate's going to be there or whichever one that maybe you like Tyson, or maybe there's a defender that falls. Why not take Emmett Johnson if he's available in round 3? I know they don't have a round 2 pick, but if somehow that's the range where he goes, that could be another team that is an Emmett Johnson. And then all of a sudden, because I will admit to everybody, because it's no secret, I'm not as high as you two are on Emmett Johnson. The athleticism does scare me. The size, speed does scare me. The late breakout scares me. But again, my evaluation is not nearly as entrenched in the film as yours is. So it's a nerds versus, the actual grinders for the film conversation. I think that's my RB6.
He's the perfect dichotomy of film grinder versus model grinder, right?
Yeah.
He definitely looks better on film than he does in a model. To me, there's no question about it. I agree with you, but I have to bump him up because I love the film and I love his football acumen on the field.
Yeah, and if he goes in round 2, my opinion is going to change real quick, because that's just the draft capital, the landing spot. Obviously, it matters for everybody, but there's a lot of, we talked about the Texans, the Commanders. So yeah, and again, this is one of those drafts at the running back position where we could see some crazy things happen that we aren't expecting. And I agree with you. I like Jadarian Price. I don't like him in round 1 at all. I think that would be a shocker of all shockers. It wouldn't, like, this is one of those running back draft classes where it wouldn't shock me if Jadarian Price falls to round 3, or if Emmett Johnson goes in round 2, or if the RB whatever 7 or 8 that we think is the RB 7 or 8 goes in round 2. Like, this is pick your flavor. There isn't really a clear, like, this is the RB2. So
I agree. There is no clear RB2. I think if we had honesty on 32 boards, we'd probably have 6 different running backs at RB2.
Yeah. I agree. Let's go to your wide receiver, because now we're getting into more of Seth's favorite guys here. So either one you want to start with here on your list, wide receiver players that you like.
I'm trying not to be a homer, but man, if anyone doesn't know, I live in Connecticut. I have season tickets to the Yukon Huskies. I've been on Skyler Bell for about 8 months now. I've seen him live. I've seen him destroy people. I've seen him toast cornerbacks for the last year. He was a Biletnikoff finalist. He was an All-American. And I get it. It's at the G5 or G6 level now. He's not at the Power 4. So I understand that. But he's 6'0", 192. I was like, oh, that was my only concern. Like, I was like, is he 5'10" and 180? But he showed up at 6 feet, 192. He holds that weight well. Man, 220 career receptions, 69% catch rate, 35% aerial dominator. I've said this before about wide receivers. There's no magical stat. We all know that there are different levels. It's a game of probability. One of the statistics that I value, receiving yards per team pass attempt. I'm looking for a baseline of 2.5. He has a 2.93. Superstars are above 3.0. He's 2.93, man. And UConn, that's not a program where you expect a young man to thrive and perform that well. PFF liked him, gave him an 82.9 grade, but he went to the combine, man. You're always worried. I'll always be honest. Whenever you see an athlete at the lower level, you have to be concerned about their athleticism because they're toasting young defenders who are not probably going to play in the NFL, right? So even though he's burning them at that level, what is their athleticism, man? 4.4 in the 40, 4.11 in the 20-yard shuttle, and 6.65 in the 3-cone. What I like about that, it's his burst. I'm not too worried about we know straight line speed isn't that important. But what he has is burst and quick twitch abilities. You see it when he gets off the line of scrimmage. He's not your classic X, but he can be a zone beater in the slot. You can put him at the Z, and with his quick feet and his twitch ability, Skyler Bell will get open to you immediately. My only concern, does he land on a team that is using a lot of that 13 personnel or going away from the 3 and 4 receiver sets? I think early in his career, he might be pigeonholed as a slot receiver, but he's more than he can play the Z. And if you had to have him in a pinch play the X, he can play outside for you. I'm all in on Skyler Bell. I think he has a really nice athletic profile with the production profile that says he's a top 10 wide receiver in my book.
Yeah, I love Skyler Bell. I really don't understand the consensus, because the consensus would tell you that Skyler Bell is at the end of the second round. They wide receiver 13 according to Fantasy Pros, the experts, and having him ranked behind players like Zachariah Branch and Jacoby Lane. And I like Jacoby Lane, but and Zachariah Branch,
Bell's better.
And I kind of had a feeling and not to give it away too much, but Zachariah Branch is on your list of players that you weren't necessarily that high on. Zachariah Branch is a pure projection. Like,
absolutely.
We have not, and I like the talent, but we have not seen these lower ADOT guys hit. And, like the yards per route run is high, but the ADOT when he's actually getting targeted is way low. And you look at Skyler Bell, and you're right, he's athletic. UConn used him all over the field, and and I don't know if this is a good comp because I'm still kind of working out my comp model or whatever. But when I watched him, he kind of reminded me of the more recent receivers that come to mind, like a Jaden Reed or a Jalen Noel, like just a more athletic wide receiver than you would think just on the surface. And I just really liked his tape quite a bit. And
his tape is good.
Yeah,
his tape is really good.
And then the tape matches the athleticism. So it's
Yes.
literally, I think the only concern that I would have is the level of competition. But I mean, I think
which is fair. That's fair. Can I give you one context? Because I've heard people say that he's a late breakout. I want to give a little context for our viewers today. And maybe it's because I live in Connecticut and I know maybe more than most. Here's what happened. His senior year, he transfers into a Connecticut prep school. It's called Taft. You don't have to know anything about it. What happens is COVID hits. So he doesn't play his last year of high school football. Then the young man moves out to Wisconsin. And I'm sorry, I teach young 17, 18-year-olds all the time. A young man who missed a year of football goes halfway across the country to Wisconsin. And let's be kind. They have a Neanderthal offense, the Badgers. They don't know how to develop wide receivers or quarterbacks. They don't know how to throw the ball. So what type of coaching did Skyler Bell get out in Madison, Wisconsin, his first 2 years in the program when he didn't play his senior year of high school? Then he made a decision to come to UConn, and he turned down NIL offers for the Big Ten last year to stay for the Huskies. They were throwing some money at him because they had seen the tape of 2024 and teams wanted him. So you get into the Big Ten at Wisconsin, so it tells you that they liked him, right? You don't just walk onto a Big Ten football team if they don't like your tape in high school or your athleticism. So we know that was there. And missing a year of football, I mean, I know it's but that's a big thing in a young man's life. So there's a little context about his late breakout age.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's good context. Babbage, what are your thoughts here on Skyler Bell? I think we're both pretty high on him.
Yeah, I'm high on him too. I was high on him before Seth was high on him, but that doesn't matter, I guess. No one's really keeping track of these things. But
sounds like
the
you
tape.
are. It's okay.
Well, it started, I believe. I can't remember really where it started. There was somebody we had on the program who mentioned him, and beforehand I had seen John tweet about him. Another UConn fan I follow, Max Toscano, was tweeting about him. He was in the Biletnikoff race really early.
Early, dude.
When I see a receiver from UConn in the Biletnikoff race, my antennas go up. I'm like, I probably got to pay attention to this guy. And I started watching him, and I have an affinity for the guys of Skyler Bell's, athletic makeup,
yes,
who are, on the smaller side, not small, but, average size, good athleticism, and just run really good routes. And I am affectionate. I have a passion for really good route running. And so as I was watching this kid play, I knew for the rest of the season, I had to at least pay attention to him. And so I love everything he puts on tape. And yeah, I mean, I certainly hope. What sucks about the NFL is that I won't be shocked if somebody takes Zachariah Branch ahead of Skyler Bell in the NFL draft.
They are going to, I think.
I mean, Kadarius Toney, these things happen. Malachi Corley got what, second round draft capital? It was high. These things happen all the time, and they continue to happen. But a guy like Skyler Bell will actually be able to, work inside of offense. My fear is that he gets pushed down because of the level of play, and then he ends up being like a Jalen Noel, who we love, but ends up just in a crowded room.
Yes.
But as a prospect, he's very high up in my rankings.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get top 75 draft capital now.
Would love that.
I don't think he'll get top 50. I think that might be a little bit too tempting. Teams are going to go to Zachariah Branch. And dude, I hope the dynasty landscape takes Branch over Bell, because I want Bell, right? I'm all in. And R.I.P. Rondell Moore. I had 0 shares of Rondell Moore, 0 shares of Malachi Corey, 0 shares of Kadarius Toney. I'm sorry, that A-Dot, and if he's the outlier and he's the guy who does it, power to him. I'm glad the young man succeeded. I'm not making that personal bet when I'm building a dynasty team. And we didn't even mention Zachariah Branch is 177 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's small.
Yeah. He's one of these players that I've fallen for the trap before, and I feel myself wanting to fall for the trap again, to be honest with you, because 5-star recruit. I mean, he at times he pops on tape, but you just like this is the best way I can put it. I can't really comment on something I haven't seen, and at the NFL level, you're going to need to win in a bunch of different quadrants of the field, and he just didn't do that. And the fact that a program like Georgia, and I joked with Matt, like maybe Georgia doesn't know what they're doing, maybe they don't, but it's Georgia, and the fact that they used him on nothing but wide receiver screens either tells me that he can't do it, or it's likely that he just can't do it. He can't get open deep down the field. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he can. Maybe he's going to prove us wrong. But we've just seen this happen so many times that I'll be taking calculated chances depending on the price on Zachariah Branch. Like if he falls way further down the board, I will be taking chances on him in the late second round, maybe early third, just because maybe all of my guys are gone at that point. But there's no way I can take him ahead of Skyler Bell.
No, I can't either. Dude.
Skyler Bell is phenomenal. And you said and the PFF backs this up. He played, I think, only 30-ish% of his snaps in the slot and 60-ish% out wide. So he's a chess piece that you can move around the field and a versatile weapon. And I just think an NFL team, I think top 75, that'd be amazing. I think that's definitely possible.
John, what's your comp for Skyler Bell?
That's a good one. No one's ever asked me. I think, oh my God, where would I Devonta Smith without the home run ability. I'm trying to think.
Okay.
Oh my God, why can't
I see that in his routes?
How about Rashid Rice and Devonta Smith, an algorithm of those two? He has the crossing patterns of Rashid Rice, and if you leave him one-on-one, he can beat you on those, the 5-yard ins with the deep crosser, as the third option. But I think he does have vertical speed, and I think he's very versatile, and you can line him up all over the formation.
Yeah, and and again, I don't get paid to be an NFL GM, but I would want players like Skyler Bell and not players like Zachariah Branch. That's just where I would, that's how my board would be.
Zachariah Branch, where he's a slot guy only.
Yeah. If he's on the field, you kind of know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another wide receiver on this list that's going to make us pretty happy too, and that's Bryce Lance. So talk to us about Bryce Lance, John.
Yeah, he seems to be getting some steam. When Matt and I talked about my teammate on the rookie big board, if you don't know what we do, we started talking about Bryce Lance when he went to the Senior Bowl, and we had texted each other, not texted, DM'd each other a few times during the school year. He's like, "Did you see what Lance did this weekend?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm checking out some tape." Man, I like this young man, but he seems to be going up draft boards all of a sudden. I think the NFL finally caught on to Lance. And if you watch the film, you see what he did at the combine, and you see his size is 6'3", 204. I think you got to like him. I mean, he might have more NFL utility because he attacks safeties vertically, right? What is it? I've heard people say sacrificial X receiver, right? Son, you're going to run a lot of posts, get a lot of cardio today, get into that 9 route. You're going to run it 40 times. But if you leave Bryce Lance one-on-one, or if a cornerback or safety falls down, you're going to give up a long touchdown if the quarterback spots him. Man, he averaged 17 yards per catch in his career. That is absolutely insane. His ADOT is 15.5. His receiving yards per team pass attempt, like I said, I'm looking at a 2.5. He had a 4.15. I mean, yes, it's at the FCS level. I get that. So it's all on a curve. His 4.15 is not, if he was in the SEC, he's not going to have a 4.15. But when I'm looking at an FCS receiver, I want the guy to burn and toast opponents. Bryce Lance does that. And again, I'm trying not to be too repetitive, but it was about athleticism. Because we know defensive backs that he's playing against are probably not playing on Sunday afternoons. So what is he at the combine? I watched him. I was looking forward to him. 4.34 and a 4.15 in the shuttle. He's like a 99 percentile athlete at his size, but the routes are there. That's the thing. Like, I get that athleticism doesn't mean everything, but then you have to watch the film. And what I see, that athleticism comes out on football IQ. He can run routes. He knows how to tantalize defensive backs. In one-on-one, he's very good. And he went to the Senior Bowl. He showed me enough against top-level competition, showed me enough at the combine. He's one of the men who's actually won this process, and why we love this process, right? Because probably most viewers didn't know who Bryce Lance was way back in November last year. And he might get top 50 draft capital because that ex-receiver who challenges safeties is so valuable to an NFL offensive coordinator.
Babbage, you were in on Bryce Lance before I was. You were the one who did the unthinkable.
Come on, man.
Did the unthinkable,
and we're a team. You don't have to be bringing up who was in on a prospect first. I mean, come on.
You got me to see the light on Bryce Lance, man. So now the Dynasty Roundtable is firmly entrenched in the camp of Bryce Lance. We love Bryce Lance. Like you said, the athleticism is eye popping. Like this is definitely somebody I will fall for sure. I will definitely be taking chances on Bryce Lance. According to the experts, an amalgamation of their rankings, Bryce Lance is 33 overall, wide receiver 17, and I currently have him at, I think just outside the round 2. I think I have him at 25. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, 25.
So I have him at number 11 at my wide receivers. I probably have him around 25 overall. Late second round in a dynasty ranking.
Yep, that's right. I have him right there in that range. And it's because, like just you said, like the small school, like playing against, future lawyers and teachers, no disrespect to those professions. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because the film that I've seen and the athleticism are extremely impressive. And he's another one that I've got earmarked to see. Like this is why the NFL draft's so great. I just can't wait to see where all these guys go, even in a quote unquote bad class. Like I can't wait to see where some of these guys go. But Babbage, any thoughts here on Bryce Lance?
My dream is Josh Allen. Oh my God, I would love the Bills to take him.
That would be great. That'd be great.
Josh Allen playing Screw It. Bryce Lance is down there somewhere would be fantastic.
And you know why it would be so perfect? Josh Allen is probably as good as I've ever seen at this type of play. When the play breaks down in the pocket and Josh Allen is buying time, if he sees that receiver 40 yards open downfield, man, Josh just chucks it up, man. I mean, and he was doing it with Gabe Davis, right? Keon Coleman, and guys who aren't very good. I think Bryce Lance is better than all of those. And if Bryce Lance is left one-on-one for 3 seconds deep, Josh is going to find him. That's my dream spot, would be Josh Allen.
Dude,
Be so funny because
the best
in
ball
early
bros would
on,
lose their minds.
Josh Allen would be underthrowing him so much in practice because he'd be like, I'm not used to somebody getting down there that fast.
I'm not used to it. Oh my God, he'd be so good with Josh Allen.
That's a good fit too for that offense because DJ Moore can win deep down the field too, but DJ is more of like get the ball to him, and he's good at run after the catch. Like Bryce Lance running clear out routes for DJ Moore sounds like a match made in heaven.
If nothing else, let him run clear out routes for Shakir and DJ Moore. Man, that's a perfect fit.
Yeah, if you could dramatically change your wide receiver room in just one offseason by signing DJ Moore and then drafting Bryce Lance. There we go. There you go, Brandon Bean. Consulting fee it'll be in the mail. Let's go to your tight end. I want to get to your tight end because this is an interesting name that has been I think gaining a little bit of steam. So talk to me about this guy.
So I was a little reluctant because he is so big and he looks slow. Like when I watch film, right? And Stanford, if anyone's watched Stanford offense, and I have a feeling Matt might watch as much college football as I do. How bad was that Stanford offense, man? It was painful. But Sam Roush, I mean, so I wasn't sure. I'm like, man, there are times where I'm like, he is so good and such an interesting player. And he's 6'6", 267 pounds, but he kind of looks slow. But I realize it's more the Stanford offense, right? And the way they employed him. But man, I can't ignore, Matt said it earlier, athleticism matters at the tight end position, man. He goes to the combine, and when he was running, I was like, wait a second, did he just run that? At 6'6", 267 pounds? A 4.7? This is what I think is an unbelievable number. In the 20-yard shuttle, to have this type of twitch and burst, my benchmark is 4.4. Just to give you an idea, Kenyon Sadiq and Eli Stowers, or I don't have the 20-yard shuttle on them, but Roush ran 4.37. I was like, he cleared my benchmark at 6'6", 267 pounds. And then in the 3-cone drill, he ran a 7.08. I'm looking at a 7.10 benchmark. I mean, to have that type of twitch and burst as a 6'6", 267-pound man is athleticism off the charts. Now, I moved him from number 6 on my rankings to number 4. I think the other 3 are just so good, I can't put them over them. My only concern, does the coaching staff and an organization take Sam Roush, and do they say he's a blocking tight end early in his career? But that means he's on the field, which is good, right? We want tight ends to have snaps because snaps will lead to opportunities. And a lot of the stuff at Stanford, he was like the second or third player in the progression. So you see, and sometimes you just see him wide open in the flat. Literally the defense paid no attention and the quarterback is going through his progression. Then he finds Sam Roush. But I think the athletic ability and the ceiling, people aren't discussing it enough. What type of ceiling this young man has. The athleticism is there. Yards per reception are there. And I'll say this, he had a 20% team dominator. And people, I dare you to watch 2 straight games of Stanford offense. Go ahead, try it out. You want to see some poor offense, go watch Stanford offense. He's the only guy you had to stop, and he had a 20% dominator. And his catch percentage, you might say it's not good, 58%. I don't think he has bad hands. And watch the quarterback play at Stanford. That's part of the context matters. He didn't exactly have a all-American quarterback like Fernando Mendoza throwing him the football.
Yeah, I like you look at the stats, and I think 500 receiving yards is pretty decent for a tight end.
Oh,
Throwing the fact that
Stanford?
yeah,
Yes.
that throwing the fact that you're at Stanford, that's incredible. Like, and then the
Yes.
athleticism. Like, if we're gonna bet on a late round tight end, this would be the target over some of those other guys. I think in that range. Like for me personally, and it sounds like you too. Like I have him over Michael Trigg, Tanner
Oh, yeah.
Koziol, some of those guys. Like Justin Jolie.
So I like Justin Jolie number 3. He's the guy.
Okay.
But you know what? If you told me Sam Roush gets drafted before Justin Jolie, I would not be surprised.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I think we're pretty much in agreement on this one. Babbage, do you have anything to add on Sam Roush here?
Yeah, he was someone that moved up the process late. I mean, he's still, as of right now, like a little, pretty far down the rankings, but he popped out as literally as somebody, like his size and athleticism combination had me like, oh, that's interesting. And then, Stanford, and I was like, oh, well, no wonder I don't really know who this guy is. I take pride in the fact that I didn't watch a single game of Stanford football last year. I didn't subject my eyes to that.
Unfortunately, I watched some of Stanford football. It is a tough watch last year. Nothing personal, Cardinals fans.
But the dominator is a big thing. The offense may be bad, but how much of that offense were you? And it helps us extrapolate what could he have been in a better offense. And, John, you said it, like snaps is going to lead to opportunities. So we want to look at guys who are going to be able to get, consistent snaps. And I think Sam could be one of those guys.
Who is the big tight end from Georgia who plays at the Steelers?
Darnell Washington.
I think Sam Roush is better than Darnell Washington. He's a better pass catcher, and I think he has a better football pass catching ability. Now, Darnell Washington was obviously just a huge man with unbelievable athleticism, but I actually think Sam Roush is just as athletic, and I think he's a better pass catcher.
Yeah, I'd have to amend. I don't know what I was thinking. I do have Justin Jolie ahead of Sam Roush. But anyway, just to amend that, just by some, like I have Jolie at 40 and Roush in the late 40s. So anyway, that's kind of where I fall on those guys.
That's the best thing about Roush is coming cheap, at least right now.
Yeah.
I love him in dynasty drafts in the 4th round. Oh my God, I'm salivating all day over that.
Yeah, there are far worse bets to make than just taking stabs at athletic tight ends in that range for sure. And like I said, he's another guy because I was hearing Scott Bogman talk about him too, like pumping him up. And yeah, just looking into the testing, the stats, the film, I think you're onto something with Sam Roush. As we always do, we always just get into this conversation. We didn't get to nearly what we thought we were going to get to. I was way too ambitious, but maybe give us a couple rookie sleepers here to end the episode that you really like, and I'll let you choose whoever you want because you've got multiple names on this list. I don't know if we'll get to all of them, but you go ahead, John.
I'll give you one from 3 different positions. I'm going to have right now at current ADP. I'm going to have a lot of running back Eli Heidenreich out of Navy. And I understand that people don't necessarily like the Navy offense, and it's a triple option offense, and I get it, but it's a hybrid offense now. And he plays this position where he was a running back / receiver. Heidenreich was the highest ranked receiver by PFF this year. And of course, when you're at Navy, and I've watched a lot of Navy football over my years, you worry about the athleticism, right? But Heidenreich went to the combine, and he's off the charts athletically. I love his pass catching chops. My only concern is I think he would have been better in 2017 than he is today in 2026. I wonder if the game has changed a little bit where I wonder what an offense coordinator will think about him and where to employ him. Ivan Heidenreich, let me double check. I think I have him at running back 10 right now. I do. I have him at running back 10 right now. His athleticism is off the charts. Now, I do think he's more of a slot receiver at the NFL level, but you know what? He can play in the backfield. You could probably put him at the H-back. You can play him at, in the slot. I think he could probably play a little bit Z if you had to. My only concern, too, he didn't play special teams at Navy. And I can't really find out why he didn't play special teams. However, the first thing I'm going to ask if I'm a scout or if I'm an organization, young man, are you willing to play special teams? And I'm sure the young man would say yes, because he has the athleticism to play on special teams. If I bring him into my organization, I can probably play him on special teams, and then he has an opportunity down the road. And you know what? We know there are injuries. If the NFL goes to 18 games, you're going to need players like Eli Heidenreich, right? Because you're going to have injuries. You're going to have them start for you once in a while. He can do so much for your football team. Now, he's capped ceiling-wise. Like, I don't know if he's ever going to be 16 points a game. I doubt it. But could he be 12 points a game? Yes, I absolutely love him. He's my sleeper at running back. Wide receiver, I think he needs more talking about. I like Eric McAlister out of TCU. I'm not sure why people don't like him. You know, maybe it's the injury. I have him right now. McAlister is my number 14 wide receiver. 6'4", 194. 18.2 yards per reception. Man, his ADOT, 12.0. He's a poor man's Bryce Lance. If you need that sacrificial X-receiver to be running routes all the time, and I know there's some injuries, but it doesn't seem like a long-term injury. He went from Boise State. He moves on over to TCU. There's an off the field arrest. You can look it up. I just don't like to talk about that stuff. You know, it's the courts handled it. How a team values it, I don't know. I watch the tape. I look at the athleticism. I really like Eric McAlister of TCU. I think he's going in the early fourth, late third round of Dynasty drafts. I think he's got really good NFL potential. I would have no problem drafting him on my Dynasty, or if I'm an NFL team, I want him also. And at the quarterback position, I can't believe he's not getting talked about. It's got to be Taylen Green out of Arkansas. And my friends, I understand. His throwing isn't always pretty. I watched a lot of Arkansas football. He misses some wide open throws. He's not. If you put him in a timing-based West Coast offense, you're doing it wrong. Taylen Green has to be an RPO-based offense. The man is just insane athletically. He's basically Cam Newton without the accuracy. And I know that's kind of sounds weird because Cam developed. He became better as he got older. But Taylen Green, you know what I love about him? He's going to go in the 4th or 5th round of the NFL draft. He's a developmental prospect. I would love him to sit behind Lamar Jackson for 2 years in Baltimore. I would like him to sit behind. I would put him in Washington. I would bring him in and sit him behind Jaden Daniels and then figure out what we have in the young man down the road. He's going to need time to learn the game. Put him in RPO-based offense. Allow the young man to use his athleticism. His deep ball is very good. For some reason, he doesn't have timing and touch in the short area. I don't know if that can be taught. That's something that he'll need to get better at. But man, if I'm going to take the risk on a quarterback with that level of athleticism, with over 2,000 career yards rushing, I think he started 45 games in his career. His numbers are off the charts, but he still might need 1 or 2 years at the NFL level. That's the type of bet that I want to make.
John, you're the best. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
Sure. Go to Player Profiler. Right now, I have 37 players featured up on their site by position. And then you can find all my rankings. I have my model on Player Profiler. There's links all there. They're also in the rookie draft guide. I'll be posting stuff after the draft on Player Profiler, or go to YouTube, the Rookie Big Board. Just type in Rookie Big Board. Matt and I have 28 individual profiles up there right now. We have a sleepers and wide receivers show right now. And tomorrow, we're going to record tight ends and quarterbacks.
Awesome. I'll be tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Babbage. Do you have any final words of wisdom for us before we close out the program?
I do, as any of our loyal listeners or subscribers will know, I make this up on the spot. I never come prepared with anything. Seth asks me the same question every week, and I just kind of say what's on my mind. John, you mentioned Rondale Moore, and that is the inspiration of this one. It hurts every time seeing, a young man's life or anybody's life, taken away at such a young age with such promise. It hits harder for me, that one specifically, as a Boilermaker who was a sophomore when Rondale Moore was a freshman.
That season, I'll never forget, Matt. He was unbelievable that season.
It was electric. I mean, especially if you I can say more about it at a different time, but with one of our students, Tyler Trent, who had been battling a bunch of diseases, who later passed away, was the inspiration for that game against Ohio State where we upset him at home. It was huge for us. I mean, that night in particular, that whole season, his whole career as a Boilermaker, he did so much for me and other Boilermakers, just making the football scene fun again. I didn't get to see the dark days because he was part of that turnaround when Jeff Brom came in and took over that team. So the point of this being, it's never a weakness to go see help. You're never alone. There are millions and millions of people. If you are somebody struggling with depression, there are millions of people like you. I myself have suffered through it. I've been through the ringer. I've been to therapy. I still have my daily struggles and my low points, as so many people do. Family, friends, or even if it's just a therapist, there's somebody out there that cares and wants to hear from you. If you feel like you don't fit in a community, and you don't have mutuals, people to talk to, welcome to the Dynasty Roundtable community. If you're a first-time fantasy football player, first-time Dynasty player, we don't care. We got a Discord. We got social medias. We have the chat. I'm sure Seth and I will be going back to doing live streams at some point. So you're welcome here. Reach out. Just don't fight it alone. It's the worst thing you can do. And no one wants to see, depression and those evil thoughts win.
That's well said. Well said, my friend. And I don't know, I definitely couldn't be Aaron Rodgers' therapist because I do not like him very much at all.
Right back to the bit.
He's made my life miserable for many years. Has he retired yet?
Not officially. We don't know nothing officially.
Oh, he just needs to go away.
He just needs to go away.
All right. Well, that's going to do it. Matt, words of wisdom, as always, on point. Thank you for watching. Thank you, John, for joining us. And until next time, nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers, and we will see you later.